Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wholehearted Loving. Again, from the car in the forest by the ocean. I'm Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Georgiana.
Today we are going to talk about, so last week we talked about how G starts her one-on-one sessions, which is also really how we run most of our groups. And today we're going to talk about how she ends her sessions.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we are going to begin with a body-based self-connection practice to connect with ourselves before we connect with each other and this podcast. And I want to share one of the practices G was showing me a couple days ago when I had a really bad headache, and which just feels generally nice and supportive. And we do this in groups outside of a headache context as well. It works to help clear energy channels in your head and clear energetic and literal congestion. And it's very gentle and simple. You're just going to start by putting one hand on your forehead. Just a gentle hand covering your forehead. And I think you could probably put your hand any direction you like, but I like to run it across to cover most of my forehead. And just take a breath or two there. And then put your other hand on a part of your head that feels good for you. So for me right now, that's going to be cradling the back of my neck, where neck meets head, cerebellum area. It feels really good to support the back of my head like this. This is where you hold a baby's head up. These are two very soothing spots. But depending on where you're feeling any energy you might like to soothe or settle in your head, or maybe you've got some pain in your head, you can put a hand there too. So that might be on the side of your face or your jaw.
And you might want to just try some different spots and to notice how your body lets you know which one you like most or need most right now.
You can try switching the hands too, noticing what feels best for you.
So I've switched now to I really like the hand behind my head on the base of the head and neck there. Now I just tried the cupping my hand on the side of the face, and I'm just pleasantly surprised at how this feels. And then I also know I really like feeling a hand on the top of my head. So I'm just going to test that out and see how that feels. And as I enjoy the hand on the top of my head, I notice the other hand wants to go to the front of my body. So this is also a little practice in discovering what's the next best thing for you.
And you might be able to really sink into this and feel a lot of relaxation from it, or it might feel unusual or not relaxing, or like you don't know how to sink into those feelings, and that's okay. And just give it a try.
I've now moved my right hand onto my knee, and I'm sort of holding my knee. And my left hand is really enjoying, my left hand isn't enjoying being on my head necessarily, but my body really enjoys my left hand on my head to a surprising degree. Oh, that feels really nice.
Such subtle sensations. I know in the past I would not have been able to notice or gain any pleasure from these sensations, and now I really, really do.
Can I put my hand on top of your head?
Yes, you can.
What do you notice?
I like the weight of your hand on my head. I like having a hand on my head and not having it have to be my own hand.
That's neat. I find that the head, I think so many of us can relate to a swirling head, right? So many thoughts swirling around, or pressure and heaviness, stuckness. For some reason, this hand on the head always gives me a settling feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And what's neat that I notice is I'm really holding my right knee with my right hand, and that gives me this anchored sensation. And almost like from that place, I can let energy flow into my hand that's on your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a real thing.
This reminds me of how I want to encourage all of us to use people in our lives. I don't mean that in a mean way, but use them to practice co-regulating. When I talk to my clients and I ask them, especially the ones who have partners, like, do you guys have a practice of supporting each other with co-regulation through touch? And everybody says no.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about that. And we talk about little things that they could add into their life that might feel supportive. And everyone's super excited to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they try it, they're like, oh, didn't know. It feels so good, so easily, so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is an example of using touch as co-regulation with someone who you trust and feel safe with.
So nice.
Feels good?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What was the sense that told you that while you feel my hand on your head, you also wanted to feel something on the side of your face?
Hmm. What was the sense? I don't know how to answer that, Gigi. It just felt true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to do it, and I didn't ask questions. I just did it.
This is the one I like too. I think last week we showed you the pressing on the forehead. Is it okay if I touch here?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it like to have someone else do it instead of you doing it?
It's so nice. I feel like a cat.
And then I like to pull up. Can I pull up?
Mm-hmm.
So I just slowly drag and pull into the hairline. And I like to start that over again. Do it again. Add a little bit of pressure on the spot in between the eyebrows. You can do this to yourself or to a friend if they're open. Time feels right, just a gentle pull and drag on the forehead. And I like to do things in threes. So.
I remember the first time I went to a beauty salon many years ago. And the ladies who were working there, what were they doing? Maybe they were like threading and tinting my eyebrows or something. And they did all of this face massage and things that I was really not accustomed to at that point. I'd been to like hairdressers and had like a lovely scalp massage and knew I loved that. But this amount of care and like it was like a love treatment for my face. And I think I cried. Like it was in that moment that I realized like there are people who just want to offer loving touch. Like they, whether they're paid for it or not, like they're choosing to do that with their time. And you could feel the love and care and ease with which they shared that in their hands. And it was such a beautiful thing to discover.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, receiving loving touch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think other than baby times, maybe I think we're losing out on like enjoying like receiving loving touch in a non-sexual way, in just a supportive nervous system, human to human connecting way. Stephanie just put her hand on my knee. It feels so nice. Yeah.
Oh, good.
So,
what a nice way to start some time recording an episode. Now I feel very like I want to have a nap and I feel so cozy.
I like how you said, what a nice way to start, because I've also shared with people, couples, of like when they sit down and talk to each other, like about whether it's like appreciations they want to share with each other or things that they just aren't feeling so good and they need to talk things through, I ask them, do you have a practice of bringing in any co-regulating touch before and during those conversations? Most people will say no. Mm. And yet, like, when you just put your hand on my knee, like immediately in my body, because I feel safe with stuff, I can feel my body like, oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm. And I feel closer to you, more connected to you. I feel like I'd be more open to whatever you have to say. Right? So I feel like it's important to look at how we can use touch more to our benefit in everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consciously connecting.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so you want to tell us how you end your sessions?
Oh yeah, ending sessions. Sessions are juicy in the middle. And they're also just as important at the end. And so when we move towards the end of a session, I like to bring us back to body connection. So I'll always ask, something like, are you open to connecting back into the body before we wrap things up? And often I'll start with like, can we just give the hands a squeeze if it would feel good to do that? And then from there, sometimes the body connection morphs into something else, but that's sort of a standard one of like, oh, here we are again. Where's my body again? Right? Because often we're feeling a lot of things during a session, sometimes coming to some insights and talking through things, processing. So just to like be able to anchor back into body. And we're connecting with body throughout session. And I think there's something really grounding about being able to close in that way as well, right? To have a definitive beginning, middle, end. Like sort of when you write a story, right? There's a beginning and a middle and an end. And in session, there's a beginning and middle and end, all connected to a body experience. And then what we chat about is one of the questions I might ask. I have a series of different questions, but one of them is, what is something that's become clearer to you today in our time together? And people will sit and like I can tell they're just taking the moment to integrate of like, what did happen today? What has become clear? And sometimes people will say, you know what? I realize I need to sit with this a little longer. It's not like super clear to me which things have popped up. Or there's so many things that have popped up. I just need a little bit of time to like let things settle and integrate. And they think that they're maybe disappointing me or something, or they haven't answered the question. And I'll remind them that is wonderful because you're noticing that feeling of it's not quite clear yet to me what the thing was. Or I'm starting to feel what that feels like in my body when I need a little bit more time. Right? And I'm willing to speak up for that and not force myself to make something up to appease someone or answer the question. So, and they might realize I need to sit with this a little bit longer. So they can choose whether they do that after session or not. But often people will have something and they'll be like, there were many things that became clear. And the one really impactful thing is this, or the one thing I want to remind myself of is this, right? And I find that it's a nice way to sort of go from, you probably know a word for this, but I'm just describing, go from this big,
swirly whirly giant,
yes, to like this,
focused, simple, clear,
right? And there's a reason why I ask it, not just for them to think about it, for them to say it, right? So they say it in a full phrase of what's become clear for me today is, and they'll say the thing. And I think there's power in stating something in that way to really own that's become clear for me. And we talk a lot about, often we find that when we're in this work, when we're doing this work ourselves, or when we're on the other side and supporting people and doing this work, it's easy to get caught up in like wanting just to like hoard knowledge and get information and learn more. And we think that if I learn more, I'll be able to feel better. And really, I've noticed that like knowledge doesn't change your life. right? And so we're trying to support you in like taking knowledge and having it bring you some insight about what does that tell me about me? What have I learned about myself is essentially is what that question is saying. You know, what's become clear for you today? What have you learned about yourself? What do you need? What do you find challenging? What do you find important? Right? What pattern are you seeing in yourself? And bringing acceptance to that. So it's a great question to learn how to not just swim in collecting knowledge, but to actually have it bring you some insight, which then brings us to the next thing of insight. Also doesn't change your life, right? You can have lots of insights about yourself. You can be very self-aware and still find yourself feeling very stuck and discouraged. And that's when I think we need to focus on that next piece, which is the next question I ask people, which is, and what is it that you are going to practice today? Something small that you have 90 to 100% confidence that you'll practice today. And sometimes I'm aware of the time. Like some clients see me like very late in the day at like 10 p.m. even. And I realize they don't have that much time before it's bedtime. But I still like to ask that question because something you can practice for yourself can be something that takes 2 seconds. And I like to help people remember that it doesn't have to be something huge. And so we always end with, I would say most of the time, end with that question of what is something based on the insight you've gained that you want to practice.
This makes me think big intention, tiny action is the phrase that's coming to mind. Yeah. I think there's so much that we learn in therapy and in books and people talk a lot about integration, but people also don't really know what that means or how to do it or how to bring this knowledge in a practical way into your body and your life. These are the questions that bring you there.
And so some people will say, well, I'm going to be kinder to myself today. And then when they say that, all the ding, ding, dings happen in my mind. I'm like, okay, that's a great intention. What would that look like? And how about, you know, I'll ask them, can I offer a suggestion, a tweak, right? And then they're like, okay. How about, you know, do you think you're open to saying one kind thing to yourself today before the end of the day? Yeah, I can do that. Great. And if we add in a little bit of extra, we'd say, do you think you would be open to feeling your feet on the ground as you say that? Or would you be willing to like celebrate that after you do that? Oh yeah, I could do that. And all of a sudden becomes something very concrete. Like, I'm going to be nicer to myself today. What does that mean exactly? And like, how many times? And am I going to get sick of it at some point? What about one time?
This makes me think of when people stop smoking and they make plans for when things come up, what they're going to do. Because I think that your question set there preventatively tackles unconscious objections that will come up. So can you say something nice to yourself today? Yes. And then can you feel your feet? Kind of tackles the inner critic that might come up after you say something nice to yourself. It says, well, but, and this and that and the other thing. And it gives you some really tangible paths to be present with the nice thing.
Yeah. And I like to really, for some people, the thing we end on that they're going to practice is one time today, I'm going to feel my feet on the ground. And they would never have suggested that as their thing to practice initially because they think like that's ridiculous. Like that's small. It'll be over in 0.5 seconds. What's the point? But there's a very big point. It makes a very big difference. And part of that is growing that new belief that small things make a big difference.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else you want to say? We've got a short time.
Yeah, sometimes we end with a question on what is something you're proud of yourself for in the context of this conversation that we've had today. Right, so I just sort of go with gut feeling of what I feel is needed, right? And sometimes for people who tend to be very much in their head, maybe who've done more thinky work, we might just allow the body to enjoy a good feeling and practice that at the end of a session. Right? And can we acknowledge that you did a thing that helped your body feel this way? And now are you willing to allow yourself to enjoy that for 1 or 3 breaths?
Oh, I love that. I think that's a really great closing practice to do right now, especially I think many of the people listening have listened for a while and they've got some idea of the kinds of body-based connection that we do and something that maybe might feel good for them. So if you are listening, take a moment now to do something that will feel good for your body. Okay, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. And once you've got that good feeling, just pause and be with the good feeling for a moment.
And if you get distracted, as I did, by the raindrops on the roof, follow the next good feeling. Because the raindrops on the roof bring a smile to my face. And I realize I want to let myself enjoy that good feeling. Next good feeling, I feel the breeze on my face coming through the window. And what's neat about that is these are all unexpected good feelings.
When I say, I can feel it reverberating through my hands on my throat, and it's a good feeling.
When you say, and I can imagine you like happily enjoying that, then I feel like, oh, that's so nice for her. And that's what's really sweet is these little moments of enjoyment that we're picking up on because we're tracking right now. We're practicing tracking good feeling and how it shifts from one thing to the next thing are things we could have easily ignored and not noticed. Right? Like even right now, the way you're looking at me and your face, the softness in your face and the way your eyes are, I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then I get to enjoy that for a moment. And those are easy things that we discount, don't see. So can you practice tracking pleasure and joy and good feeling? So like ones that you're not expecting, they just pop up. Do you have the willingness and ability to notice them? Right, when I turned my head this way just now, I felt the breeze come in this way. That's nice.
That's nice. Yeah, our lives are made up of these tiny moments. There's a lot we can do to make those moments more pleasurable.
Now I see like green, like leaves and things blowing in the wind, and that makes me happy to see. It's like they're saying hello.
Hello. Oh, hallelujah. Anything else you want to say, Gigi Bettaman?
Makes me feel happy when she calls me that. Yeah, maybe just have some practice today, tracking what feels good. Noticing surprise good feelings.
Woohoo! Hooray! Okay. We gotta go.
The lunch bell is gonna ring soon.
Clang-a-lang. Okay. Well, thanks for being with us, you guys, as always. Please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.